Muscular dystrophy is a disease that affects at least 50,000 Americans. The disease has up to 10 different strains and can be acquired at birth or show up in adulthood. Gainesville resident Jody Farmer has lived every day since age 19 with the symptoms of limb-girdle muscular dystrophy. Limb-girdle is a strain that causes weakness over time in the muscles, starting from the hips and moving up through the arms. Estimates of its prevalence range from 1 in 14,500 to 1 in 123,000. Thanks to the gradual debilitation of her muscles, Farmer admits that she struggled with confining herself to a power chair permanently until a fall in 2006 forced her to.
They said I walked 5 years longer than I should have. So I was supposed to be in a power chair and I fell. But how do you wake up and say I'm not going to walk anymore if you can walk? So I just couldn't do the transition. So in a way, it sounds crazy. With my fall, even though I was in the hospital for a week, 6 hours of surgery, blood transfusion, worst pain of my life, it was almost a relief to me because I had no choice.
Because of the confinement to the power chair, many things around the house had to change. A bathroom had to be renovated, and to provide access to the house, ramps had to be installed. There was also the matter of getting a power chair accessible vehicle. Farmer said that need was met by an unlikely source.
We found a man who had a van, and it was amazing. He came down from Rhode Island, heard about my story, and literally needed a car, and we switched keys. He took the Pilot and we took the van. Yeah, we just paid. It was a total God thing. But he heard my story. His daughter died 6 weeks after he bought the van. He didn't just want anyone to have the van. It was worth about $30-something thousand. Our Pilot was worth about that much. We paid off our cars and just switched keys in our living room.
The Farmer family rallied around her instead of breaking apart in her time of need, and she talked about the personalities that eased the transition.
In a way, it wasn't that tragic because they were so self-sufficient, and we were a team that we kind of called ourselves Team Farmer. So they just had to take up a little bit more, and I never really apologized for that. We just did what we had to do to function. So we just kind of looked at it as Team Farmer.
Jody's husband, Reverend Alex Farmer, had to assume the duties of both the mother and the father, a role he says he was more than ready to accept.
Early on, I was real comfortable with children and little babies, more so than a lot of my friends. Still am, I'm the guy that likes to hold babies that, most guys don't. And so I think God just kind of gave me an equipping for that nurturing piece and the sort of the hands-on care. So for me, it was always an advantage. I mean, I always feel sad for my friends who, the kid cries and they run to mommy every time, and it's like, Dad, second class. For me, it was like, they ran to Daddy because they knew Mom couldn't pick them up.
The Farmers also have 3 children, and their youngest daughter, Sam, talks about the ways the siblings accepted new challenges.
You had to grow up a lot because, you had to step up to it. I would say Charlie grew up more fast than I did. I was kind of stubborn about it, but not like stubborn, I didn't want to. It's just like I just didn't know what to do. So Charlie mainly grew up a lot and kind of became like the mom role per se, and Jake kind of became my second father.
Muscular dystrophy is something Jody and her family deal with on a daily basis, but it does not define them. And as a team, they overcome the problems the disease presents. For Florida's 89.1 WUFT-FM, I'm Richard Johnson.